Another thing that you mentioned, we talked about a little bit offline before the show in terms of trying to attract people in, is something from Barco called Barco Escape. And
yes.
I believe you saw that at CinemaCon. I've seen it demonstrated. I tried to go actually see a movie in it. There's one theater, at least one theater here in LA, maybe two now, that have this. But the time I went, it wasn't working. So I didn't get to see it. Yeah. They had some demos there, didn't they, of it this time around?
Oh, yes. I think you have an image of the screen configuration.
I do. Let's take a look
Barco
at that.
Escape.
Barco Escape.
I think that would be a great thing to be to put up on screen while we talk about it.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Here we go with the Escape experience. And this is a reminder of Cinerama. Except for this is 3 flat screens. It is 3 projectors, and Barco is certainly partnering with productions that have wide vistas in them to actually produce for this format, so that you will actually take 3 cameras out and you will or you will shoot a super widescreen image that can be divided up among the 3 images. Mm-hmm. So this is essentially what we saw. The interesting part is that, as I mentioned to you, in the demonstration, the theater seating was raked at such a steep level so that when you were in any given seat, you did not see the person in front of you when they were completely below you when you were looking at the screen. Right. I'm not confident that that kind of a rake exists in theaters. It may, and I just don't know it.
Well, Dolby Cinemas have a pretty strong rake, as you call it, or what's called stadium seating. I have no trouble in a Dolby Cinema looking at, sitting in a row and seeing the screen, not seeing the person in front of me. That's definitely an improvement, in my opinion. What strikes me as difficult about this Barco Escape is that you'd better be pretty far forward into that U shape, if you will, in order for it to be effective. Am I right about that?
Well, certainly from my point of view, that you don't want to be too far back, but I would have to say the same could be said for Cinerama. That I've been privileged here in Los Angeles to be able to see Cinerama a number of times. That every once in a while there are festivals, and as much as I've seen it before, I still try to go again. And there is reserved seating there, and I always try to get seats that will at least put me far enough forward so peripherally I feel like parts of the image are out there. And I also like being seated in the center, which is quite difficult. Even if you look at the seating that's in this illustration, you can still see that there's an advantage to being dead center as opposed to being on the left or right.
No kidding. Kind of reminds me of curved screen TVs. Yes. You have, if you're dead center, then you're great. But if you're off center, not so good.
Yeah, don't get me started.
All right, we're talking about commercial cinema today, but
yes, but
it's a similar problem.
Yes, one of the things I did find in the demonstration that was presented is the contrast ratio on this image wasn't quite as good as the contrast ratio on a single screen, and I certainly attributed that to bounce of light from the side screens. Now, they're pointed out a little bit, but that doesn't prevent contamination from the corners. As an example, that corner spot on the left or right from the front screen to the 2 side screens, it still doesn't prevent them from having some reflectivity into the 2 side screens. I was not as impressed with the contrast ratio as I have been in single presentations. So, and I don't know how much that had to do with the setup that was in Las Vegas. But I did find it interesting to see it for the first time and understand the concept and what they're trying to do.